Well, to some politics now, and CORD principals Raila Odinga and Moses Wetangula took their dialogue campaigns to Migori, asking the government to urgently convene the talks they are asking for. The opposition leaders have threatened to lead protests in those talks if those talks are not convened before the 7th of July. KTN's Western Kenya, Fredo Mulo, will have the details in just a short while. But also in another political front, the CORD rallies are due to climax on a political significant day in Kenya's struggle for democracy. But now, some of the people who took part in the original Sabasaba protests are warning that the agenda right now may not be in line with what they fought for back then. The Sabasaba heroes, Timothy Njoya and Paul Muite, say CORD should come out very clearly on what they hope to achieve in their latest Clamour. KTN senior political reporter Samugina now looks back on the magic of Sabasaba and why CORD may be seeking to ride on it.
It was intense, daring, previously unconceivable in a country where the police were a powerful and ruthless machine. That was the first Sabasaba riots that rocked Nairobi and the outlying towns in July 1990. And now, as if to recapture the mood of that time, CORD, some of whose members were part of that clamor, has picked on the date as the climax of its call for national dialogue.
Tuelewane mapema kabla Sabasaba. Lakini kama umekataa, Sabasaba iwaja. Sabasaba iwaja. Sawa?
Reverend Timothy Njoya was at the heart of the Sabasaba clamor right from the start. In fact, he paid dearly for it 7 years later when he was thoroughly beaten by supporters of the KANU regime at the time. 24 years after the first Sabasaba, he says the current push for dialogue is suspect.
We also need to know what is the change envisaged. Is it power sharing? Is it a coalition government? And because we've not been very clearly articulated.
Give them space to govern. Yes, criticize them. But if in addition you want to engage in constructive dialogue, do so by accepting their legitimacy. Engage them through that legitimacy.
CORD has what it calls a 5-point plan agenda for the National Dialogue Forum. They have identified as problem areas the question of security, corruption, national unity, constitutional inclusivity in public appointments, and devolution and restructuring of the provincial administration.
Economic growth faces a lot of challenges, the main one being corruption. Because even this issue of insecurity that we keep talking about now, you will find a very definite connection and thread with corruption.
Sabasaba is considered to have been a key turning point in Kenya's quest for democracy. Njoya still recalls the early seeds he and other members of the clergy planted before politicians like Kenneth Matiba and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga took over.
Everywhere, every part of Kenya, people are ready for change. So it is not me who had changed him. It is their own grievances, their own disgruntlement, their own dissidency. It is their own dissatisfaction and disaffection with what was happening in Kenya. So all I was doing is tapping, simply tapping the Kenya spirit that time.
The Sabasaba uprising resulted in the deaths of 21 people in Nairobi. Most of those who championed it would be rounded up for detention. For Muite, it came in the form of summons to report to State House.
Of course, I did not take any apology. And I went, I met him, and I did my best to convince him that the rioting was because of the error of Moi's government in refusing to allow people to meet peacefully.
It is perhaps the power and the effect of the Sabasaba rallies that has influenced the choice of the date by the CORD team. But with so much water under the bridge since the first meeting in Kamukunji, the opposition coalition has its work cut out ahead of the much publicized rally. Samugina, KTN.